My Lords and members of the House of Commons, I am deeply grateful for the addresses of condolence by the House of Lords and the House of Commons, which so touchingly encompass what our late sovereign, my beloved mother, the Queen, meant to us all. As Shakespeare says of the earlier Queen Elizabeth, she was a pattern to all princes living. As I stand before you today, I cannot help but feel the weight of history which surrounds us and which reminds us of the vital parliamentary traditions to which members of both houses dedicate yourselves with such personal commitment for the betterment of us all. Parliament is the living and breathing instrument of our democracy. That your traditions are ancient, we see in the construction of this great hall, and the reminders of medieval predecessors of the office to which I have been called, and the tangible connections to my darling late mother we see all around us, from the fountain in New Palace Yard, which commemorates the late Queen's Silver Jubilee, to the sundial in Old Palace Yard for the Golden Jubilee, the magnificent stained glass window before me for the Diamond Jubilee, and so poignantly and yet to be formally unveiled, your most generous gift to Her late Majesty to mark the unprecedented Platinum Jubilee, which we celebrated only 3 months ago with such joyful hearts. The great bell of Big Ben, one of the most powerful symbols of our nation throughout the world, and housed within the Elizabeth Tower, also named for my mother's Diamond Jubilee, will mark the passage of the late Queen's progress from Buckingham Palace to this Parliament on Wednesday. My Lords and members of the House of Commons, we gather today in remembrance of the remarkable span of the Queen's dedicated service to her nations and peoples. While very young, Her late Majesty pledged herself to serve her country and her people, and to maintain the precious principles of constitutional government which lie at the heart of our nation. This vow she kept with unsurpassed devotion. She set an example of selfless duty, which, with God's help and your counsels, I am resolved faithfully to follow.
All right, and you're watching King Charles and his Queen Consort. King Charles, feeling the weight of history there, addressing Parliament for the very first time as king, as the monarch here, as he enters the limousine and they leave Westminster Hall, presumably on their way here to Scotland. But you were speaking about Blackrod and the folks who are there now.
Yeah, there you have all the various participants, if you will, the various principal parties in the form of government of Britain. Blackrod, who you just saw the King talking to. Again, an ancient post. If you take each of the people we've seen and you were to draw a sort of a tree upwards to how they all fit together in history, you will see that they each have an individual role. It's not just dressing up for the sake of dressing up. And when things are going normally and well, you don't really notice it. It just happens. But if there is constitutional crises, as we've had, as you've had, then these roles become important, because then everybody has to defer back to that which they're supposed to do. And that's the significance of today's address to Parliament.
Yeah.
Stamping, I'm the king, your Parliament, I know my job, you know yours.
Don Lemon here. We're in Edinburgh with Richard Quest. Also with us, Max Foster, Christiane Amanpour. They join us from Buckingham Palace. Max, the king there really having to weave a tapestry there between the political process, grieving for his mother. Interestingly enough, he had to talk about his mother's relationship with Parliament, with the House of Commons as well.
It was interesting. What we saw here was really it's quite profound, really. It's confirmation that the king will, I mean, dare I say, stay in his box. The king is apolitical, he doesn't get involved in politics, and the Queen was absolutely exemplary in that, rising above politics. So we heard that Lord McFall, speaking for the Lords, saying the Queen's fortitude in the face of adversity, forever remembered. Then we had the Speaker of the Commons, Lindsay Hoyle, saying to the king, you pledge yourself to uphold constitutional principles, and that is that the king does not get involved in politics. Then we heard from the king, I cannot help but feel the weight of history and the vital parliamentary traditions. And he said of the Queen, she set an example of selfless duty I'm resolved faithfully to follow. So I think it was reassurance to the members of Parliament there and the Lords that he would uphold the Constitution and the duties of the monarch in the way that his predecessor did. So whilst there's lots of tradition, there's lots of formal language, it's actually quite profound, and I think everything the king said there was quite reassuring to everyone sitting in the ancient hall going back more than 900 years.
Elizabeth Norton also joins us as well. Elizabeth, welcome to the program. As Max just pointed out, Charles says that he feels the weight of history, and you don't need to imagine why. This is quite profound.
It's incredibly historic, and of course, new monarchs have been going to Parliament to speak to the House of Lords and the House of Commons for centuries. So, you know, it's a really important tradition, and of course ties in the monarch to their government.
Christiane Amanpour, as we watch the procession or watch the motorcade of the king leaving Westminster Hall, and then these pictures now of the inside of Westminster Hall, you know, I have to keep referring to this. There is a lot going on here as it relates to the transition of power for the government, the future of the monarchy, and also laying to rest the beloved Queen for 70 years. There was a lot, it was mentioned a lot. Diamond Jubilee, Platinum Jubilee, Gold Jubilee, and it's just a reminder of how long Queen Elizabeth has been really here and on the world stage.
Well, exactly. And just so that you know, in terms of the choreography, now the King and Queen Consort are on their way to RAF Northolt to come to where you are in Edinburgh for the procession to St. Giles's Cathedral. So that'll be in a few hours, but they're on their way to take that flight right now. In the meantime, I mean, how could you not be struck when the King acknowledged, as Max said, and as Elizabeth has said, the weight of history? You know, I could only think of Stormzy, the great British rapper, quoting Shakespeare, heavy is the head that bears the crown. And that is absolutely true, even if it is only a ceremonial and constitutional role, which it is. You can be absolutely sure that every word that the King proclaims inside the democratic House of Power, the Parliament, has been approved not just by his political advisors and councillors, but by the government as well. There was never a state opening of Parliament that the Queen delivered that was not written by the government. And that is their role. It's not just his words, and I think that's very, you know, important to remember.